So let me introduce you to Jessica Peterson. She is my co-author. She's a TEDx speaker. She is amazing. She has 6 best-selling books. She developed the 6 and 7K Wow Blueprint, and she's a certified business and marketing coach. And she is a social media impactor and absolutely amazing. This is me and my glamour shot. I've been in several of the top mortgage magazines. I'm one of those 2% female executives labeled by somebody else as such. And that means that after 30 years, I got to that place where I was running large companies. The last company I was running sales, and I had about 500 employees. My prior company, I had about 1,200 in the mortgage space. And I have this book and another book, Wise Eyes, See Your Way to Success. We hope that the gathered information will protect you from dangerous situations. You can subscribe today at businesswomansafety.com. It's free, and it will give you updated information and whatever you need for safety. And it's a place you can share your story if you have any near harm stories as well. We would like to thank the countless women and men who contributed to Clear Boundaries by sharing their stories and safety tips. I will tell you too, if you have questions during this presentation, you may chat them, and I will stop and read the questions from the question box at some point as well. We are obviously grateful and commend those who shared personal and painful stories, even during difficult times, to help us all learn valuable lessons that we otherwise would not have known. Our target audience, obviously, who should read the book and why, are both women and men. Women that want to stay safe in their career, men who love and adore women, and teens is a target for us. We think that a lot of our writing in this book really helps shape conversations with teenagers. And I will tell you, we talk about things that most safety books won't talk about. We talk about, for teenagers, how to make themselves safe by saying what we call the early no. And what that means is a lot of women, and so I'm going to sidestep for just a minute to set the stage for this training and tell you that there are a lot of women whose quality of life has been altered by violent crime. And so you might be a survivor of a violent situation. So you didn't, you survived it, but you have emotional damage. And so we want to really try to prevent that. And so, one of the things that we did in this book is we told a story. It's called the Georgia Rape Story. And it's a story about not saying no early enough. It's a story about saying yes for the ride or the date, and then yes to the drinks, and then yes to the dinner, and then yes to, okay, we can stop by your place on the way home. And then we're in a spot where we can no longer say no, or we feel as though we can't say no, because at that intersection, if we say no, we've really, walked down a path where it looked like we wanted to be in a physical situation. There's a lot of women that hit that intersection and have second thoughts and want to turn around and say, I want to go home now, and then are in awkward physical situations, or worse, end up raped. And our young girls, our young teenage girls, in creating Clear Boundaries, because again, this is a state-of-art safety book. We help them understand where they can truly protect themselves is where those no's need to fall, where they don't end up in a situation where they're really, really having to turn, the train completely around on the tracks. Listen, I never thought I'd be talking about this stuff, and this has not always been in my wheelhouse as a 50-year-old woman. And now I'm going to show you, I have succeeded, or not succeeded, I have survived 2 women in my life who have been murdered. And we're going to talk about those 2 women today. So this is very serious for me. And I don't hold back any punches when I talk about it. Yes, it's kind of like awkward because it's that 5th grade sexual education class, but there's no other way for this relevant information to make it to your lives and truly save your life and the lives of your loved ones unless we get really serious about this discussion. Now, you're looking at 2 women that are very personal to me, 2 women that I know really well. The girl giving you the sly eye in the orange shirt is my girlfriend, Nikki Evangelist. When I went away to college, I was working on the teller line of a small Massachusetts-based credit union, and she would befriend me and show me around the town, and we became fast friends and did everything together. And about 9 months in, she would become a missing person after a Saturday night out. The long story short, she will have been murdered by her ex-boyfriend. Today, 32 years, or yes, 32 years later, we are in a situation where we have to go, myself and the other girls on that teller line, and help defend against the release of her perpetrator, who for 7 years have come up for annual parole. So her entire family and us have to go back, and we have to make a case as to why to keep her perpetrator behind closed bars. The other woman with the choker on is Colleen Brownell. Colleen Brownell was the compliance officer and senior manager at Annie Mac Home Mortgage, where I worked for 12 years. And on the evening of December 30th, 2017, we released the staff early to begin their New Year's Eve festivities. And Colleen would be staying at her sister's, where she was under protective custody in a domestic situation with her ex-boyfriend. Unfortunately, he would come and he would murder her and her sister. And so I was left having to manage, not to make this somber, but I really want to set the stage for why am I so motivated as a woman professional in making a difference in this area of my life? And I will tell you, because I've seen the real consequences of decisions that can't be changed or situations that can't be changed. So, Colleen, I'm proud to tell you, we've impacted her family's lives. She left behind 2 young dogs she had just got. And the MBA picked up this book. Marsha Davies, the chief operating officer of the Mortgage Bankers Association of America. And this book was handed out to all of the bankers at the annual convention last year. A book was bought for every participant. The money and proceeds from that, went to feed and take care of her 2 dogs. And we raised enough money in that venture to actually take care of the dogs for their lives. And then Robin Roberts would pick the book up in March of last year, and we would end up giving it to the entire live studio audience at Good Morning America. And I got to go on and sit at the news desk and meet George Stephanopoulos and all these wonderful people. So, you know what? These women are remembered. I feel really proud of the work that we've done.
Awesome.
But, I wanted you all to know
it's
so
they
real.
Continue to pay it forward. They're continuing to pay it forward, although they had to sacrifice. But
that's right.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, I think it's hard to know what to do with yourself when you have a helpless sense of feeling. And I think a lot of charities are born out of this type of situation. So, I really feel grateful that we were able to go to work and do this and honor them. So thank you today for showing up here at Scott's Agent Mastermind and honoring my girlfriends and my writing, Clear Boundaries, and being in a position to pay it forward to all your professionals and the women and the ones you love in your area. We're really, really proud to give this to you today. So let's get on with the education. Between 1966 and 2018, women in the workforce have grown from a minority level to majority level, tipping the scales at 51% of the workforce. That is not statistics for senior management and executives, which is very lopsided. That is general statistics. And so when we ask, how do we get here? Let's think about what that means. It means that women recognize, that there is still some barriers in the entry to the workforce. In management, we're still a minority. We're still fighting for equal pay. We're still fighting for promotions. Interaction between women and men are at an all-time high, and social media interaction is high and continues to rise. And internet imaging of women is confusing to both genders. So we're going to talk about that today. Again, I told you this is a state-of-the-art book. It talks about things never before talked about in safety books. Historically high numbers of women file lawsuits, allege harassment and discrimination. Women are taking a stance in society, and Clear Boundaries was written to create clarity on both sides of that. So this is obviously written in a certification workshop type atmosphere. So as a webinar, we still show you the assignments, because if you hold classes with the recording, this would be the place where you'd pause the recording and we would have you read a chapter and clear boundaries aloud, or schedule a breakout to discuss and share personal experiences. So the nice thing with the workshop, if you pay this forward, is that you can really create an interactive audience experience through places that we stop the webinar and talk. And I welcome you if you want to share anything. Again, we can open your mic or you can chat questions or whatnot. So top safety tips: be alert and aware at all times in public. It kind of sounds silly that we would say that, like, duh. But how many times are we walking around in the public and we are looking at our phones and we're really not present? We're walking and looking at our phones, or we're distracted, or we're talking to another person that we're walking with, or maybe just our mind's busy with other thoughts and things that are going on, and we're not completely present and alert to our surroundings. Do not allow your senses to be dulled by alcohol or other substances, especially when you are alone. I understand that this is kind of a controversial statement because I'm a grown up and so are you. And for me to tell you not to have your glass of wine with dinner or whatnot, what we're talking about is the responsibility we each have to not put ourselves in a dulled situation if we're alone. I travel alone as a woman a ton. I'm about to leave next week, 9 solid weeks of travel and speaking, fall speaking engagements. Yes. And as I go to and from, because I'll be going to these events and coming home for 4 days, and going to events and coming home, I'll be in airplanes and cars and hotels alone. And so, you know, I like a glass of wine, but if I indulged and I was in the hotel, for instance, in a situation where my senses were dulled, I can promise you, I would not have been able to react the way I did when, in my book, in the beginning of my book, I talk about what happened to me that fateful night that caused me to send the video out, that caused me to meet Jessica Peterson, that ultimately led for me finally writing this book about things. So just something to think about. Big safety tip here. Number 1 safety tip. Here it is. This is the meat in this book. We're giving you the cliff notes during this class right now. You must fight for your life if attacked. Women have the greatest chance of survival if they fight during the initial moments of an attack. This fact has been demonstrated both statistically and by interviews and polls garnered from criminals and violent crime. So we went out surveys from felons that were in jail for life. These statistics were made available through agencies that have surveyed these criminals for the sake of education, for safety. And hundreds of felons said that for the women they murdered or the women they raped, that they had thwarted attempts prior to their successful ones. They, of course, had to work up the nerve. I mean, this is incredible insight, but they had to work up the nerve to do the act themselves. They go from not being those people to becoming those people, and they might sit praying on somebody, and, you know, that person didn't end up being the person that they actually committed the crime on. Why, they were asked, why not that person? Why not this person? Well, they're so hesitant in the initial minutes of acting violently. You have the greatest chance right then to actually save yourself. They do not, interestingly, care so much about your pleading for, I have children, I have a baby at home, I have, like, lots of things come to mind that we're going to yell out, please don't do this, begging. Those things matter least to them. Okay, this is interesting. It might work. We're not telling you not to do that. We're telling you that when you violently fight back in the initial seconds of the crime, they are of the belief that you're going to be a problem for them and might get them caught by being noisy and drawing attention, or they can't get you in the car or whatever. So ladies, do not go along to get along. We have movies that tell us, okay, you know, Brad Pitt's going to come in and take us out of this cellar. Every second that goes by that you're walking with the person that has the gun pointed at you, or whatever the scenario is, you are getting deeper into a irreversible situation. So when you get into the car, you have more limitations of survival. When you get to the location the person's bringing you, you have more limitations. That's not to take hope away if you ever end up in that situation. It's to tell you that the moment someone steps up on you, you have to fight. You have to, with legs and arms and the ways that we teach you in this book, with the keys that we tell you to make as a weapon. And in fact, we're going to tell you how to walk to your car with the key between your index finger and your middle finger. So I cannot stress this to you enough. This is not us just saying this. This is based on criminals themselves telling you what made them stop from abducting, raping, or murdering a woman was that the women they tried to get to before they actually committed with the actual women they got to were these type of women that fought, and they said, I don't want her. She's going to be a problem. So please remember that. Top safety tip.
Hey, Christine,
always,
Christine, yes. Sorry to interrupt you, but do you think that it's you think most of it is not being aware of your surrounding, your situation, or maybe you're going to cover that later? I know you covered that briefly at the beginning, but do you think like a lot of the time it's just, we're so caught up in what we're doing, where we're going, routines, you know how you like you miss your turn because you're usually going to the office, but you're supposed to go here, like all the little routine that we get so caught up in and just accustomed to. Does that play a factor in this?
You know what it is it does, to answer you, absolutely. But I honestly think a lot of women make decisions that are altered because of a night out. So a lot of crime is committed because we've gone out to have a good time with our girlfriends or whatever that scenario is, and we're altered by alcohol and we begin to make bad decisions. All of us have had, girlfriends that, we go out in a group and then maybe don't come home in a group. And so, I would just tell you that you've got to be really careful in that. But I would also say to you that I think, all of us tend to think it's not going to happen to me. Right. These things happen on the news, they happen to other people. It's unfortunate. We feel horrible. We see it on social media. But then one day, like when it happened to me in the elevator, I'll tell you that story. I stepped into the elevator and I had actually seen an employee that was staying at the hotel when I walked in the lobby coming back from a business dinner. And I stood for like 10 minutes talking to this employee. I didn't go to the hotel bar, but it was a big open area and people at the bar could see me standing in the lobby talking to this person. There was quite a bit of a walk from the lobby to the elevators, but as I walked, I realized someone was walking behind me. I stepped into the elevator and this person stepped in with me, this guy, and we made eye contact as he stepped by me, and he was absolutely inebriated. And so right out of the gates, I knew because I was alert and aware that he was drunk, and I'm now in an elevator that's closing with a person that's drunk. And while that might just be by itself, somewhat innocent and nothing to worry about, it did put my guard up a little. But worse, he didn't pick a button for the elevator. And so my body was standing in front of the buttons of the elevator, and I turned to him and I said, "What floor?" And he looked right at me as if to undress me. And he said, "Whatever floor you're on." And at that point, I knew I was in trouble. And I turned around and I faced the buttons, and the elevator door had closed and I had already pressed my button. So the elevator began to rise and we're in the elevator and I'm trying to think, like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And he hadn't done anything wrong at that point. So even though I was ready to act and I was kind of jumping out of my skin, he hadn't made a move yet. And so I reached into my purse and I grabbed my phone, because we're going to teach you that when you bring a third party into your location, you are bringing safety to yourself. So if you can FaceTime somebody or even phone call somebody or fake a phone call, you are anchoring yourself with safety. And so that's what I did. I actually did dial my boyfriend's number, and he's a heavy sleeper, and it was late and he didn't pick up. I hung the phone up with my thumb, but I pretended I was talking. "Hey, honey, the elevator door is open." I step out. I'm carrying this conversation on. The guy steps out with me. I'm going down a hallway. My room's the last room in this long hall. And I'm thinking as I'm walking, "Christine, do not go there. You cannot open that door, because if you do, he's going to push you in and the door is going to shut behind me and the rest is going to be history." And so I did the only thing I could think of, which was I got louder, that like, "Oh yeah, I had a great night. I'm back at the hotel. I'm just getting ready to go to my room." And I slowed, instead of my feeling was to run. And instead I slowed my pace because I didn't want to go by my room. And the guy got aggravated and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Who are you talking to?" And that was all it took. I turned around and with the phone still up to my face, I looked at him and I said, "Excuse me." And he said, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, "My boyfriend." And he laughed, but like an evil laugh, like, "Of course, this jerk is talking to her boyfriend." And in that moment, I knew it was my only moment to run. And that's what I did. I ran to the staircase and I flung the door open and I began to run down the flights. And I was like on the 7th floor. And I can tell you, I fell down like 3 flights because I was panicked. And by the time I got to the bottom of the stairs and I got to the front lobby, I was in completely like in a panic. And he hid in the stairwell and they caught him. And I
Wow.
don't know where it would have gone, but I can tell you, for me, it was personally the most closest I came. He was a big, big guy. And I know you asked a simple question, but I want to share that story because I want to pause for a minute and really bring this to light with everybody here. All women that I know have some sort of story that, close encounter or an awkward situation. We don't really even know how close we are sometimes to danger. And when I'm teaching this webinar live, Scott, I try to say to women too, like, understand if you're a realtor even, and you're going to show a house, which is, by the way, realtors are the number one crime career that's again for violent crime because of that, one-on-one meeting that you do when you're showing houses. And I know there's a ton of, attention that has been brought to this because there's been so many women. I mean, we talk about Beverly Carter in the opening chapter and the Carter Foundation, Carl Carter. Beverly Carter was the first woman to end up on the front of the page.
Beverly, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. On the front page of the New York Times. And she would be the first notable realtor murder story. And of course, they have a foundation for her now. But I would tell you this. I've had women raise their hands in live sessions and say, I don't want to lose a sale. I worked really hard to get here and I don't want to get my hair back up on my neck and be at a place and feel weird. And a lot of women think that maybe they killed the sale because they ran out of the house. But I'm going to tell you, if I were to ask Nikki or I was to ask Colleen, if there was something they each could do differently the nights they got murdered, I bet there are answers they would tell me that they could have done differently. And I don't know what those answers are, but I would rather regret being awkward with a customer and fleeing from a place I felt I was in danger than, than be in the opposing scenario. So anyways, all right. So always run, and respond with action. Do not freeze in fear. And so here's a really cool tip that is always a fan favorite during the classes. If you're an Apple iPhone user, and I can tell you also, by the way, smartphones have added this, so you can Google it if you're not an Apple user. But if you press the side of your power button 5 quick times, it's going to start a 911 call and begin your GPS tracking. Now, I wrote this in the book when it was iPhone 7 or 8. So if it doesn't work on your 8, 9, 10, 11, wherever we are, just Google Apple iPhone security button or Apple iPhone emergency button, and it'll tell you what the combination is. On prior phones, we updated this at one point, and on prior phones, it was both the menu button at the same time as the side button. When you do it, if you're trying this at home, by the way, it will pull up your security button and it'll say swipe to dial 911. So what happens is if you're walking and you've got your phone, but you can't call somebody or call 911 and open the phone and do the whole thing, it allows you to just quickly boom, 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 hit that, and it begins, and then you can just swipe with the little swipe of the finger, and it all starts. The 911 call starts, and the GPS tracking starts. And by the way, you don't need to talk into the phone and say, "Come help me." You can if you can, but you don't have to, because the way the message comes in is it says distressed, silent, 911, emergency with GPS, abduction occurring. Okay. On the side of the 911. And so it gives you a fighting chance. And that's even if you don't keep GPS on your phone for whatever reason. So please Google that. If this one that I'm showing you isn't the proper one based on your iOS, then find it. Same thing with smartphones. It is absolutely amazing. And it is a quick way for you to be tracked. Internet safety is key. So be careful of who you let into your world. Clear Boundaries dives deeply into image protection, the neuroscience of imaging, and the male brain as related to creating clear boundaries. So we talk about drawing clear lines. Actually, the title of the book comes from men. We surveyed hundreds of men and said, what do you want to know about safety with women? And they said, we want clear lines. We want to know when we're stepping over them because we get mixed messages. And let's face it, if you're dating or wanting to date, you're in a world where you're looking. And so we don't want to damage our great male friends and my buddies. I didn't want to alienate, the 5,000 men that have worked for me when I wrote this book, and I didn't. I clearly said to them, look, guys, tell us women what you want. And they said, we just want to know. We want to know more clearly where the boundaries are, because there's a lot of hindsight for women sometimes of, they went along to go along with something that they didn't want to do. And then after time passes, the reality of them having gone along, especially if alcohol was involved, and then afterwards, in hindsight, they have regrets or whatever, we can't rewrite history. And so I'm not going to be the person to tell you that what happened in the past doesn't matter, because I think there's clear PTSD for women and it needs to be dealt with on a professional level when it occurs. But I will tell you that we really have to help the guys understand where those boundaries are. We talk here about physical touching. There are a lot of people that talk with their hands. I'm French. As I'm sitting here right now, my hands are wailing around. I'm all by myself as I'm telling this story. But are you the person that puts, and we all know this person that puts their hand on your shoulder or your neck or your leg or your arm? And does that make you feel uncomfortable? Our book will tell you if it does, or you're the person that does that, think about that. Because we really have that personal space thing now that really has to occur. Social media, there are no regulations for social media right now in this regard. The lines are very blurred with regards to imaging. What I will tell you is we've seen a lot of cases on rape where, Scott, is that your emergency button?
It actually works, yeah. Actually,
that's good.
I want to try it because I want to see it. So that's the iPhone 10, by the way.
Good. And was it 5 presses of the side button?
It was 5 of the side button, yeah.
Okay, so just
sorry
so
about
you
that, guys.
know,
I just thought that was important. Yeah, I just thought that was important.
So that you don't alert you actually are making a valid example, because ladies, if you don't want to alert your perpetrator with that alarming emergency sound, there's a way to disable the sound feature. So please make sure you do that, because of course, if you do that, it might scare them away. I mean, it could work if it starts sounding that alarm, quite frankly. But if you want it to be silent and send that silent message, you can opt out of that as well. So, again, lines are blurred with regard to imaging. And in an attempt to appear attractive, which, if you're single and you're wanting to date, I get it. You have a really pretty image up. I do too. I want to be pretty. I'm a 50-year-old woman that's dying to hang on to whatever I've got left of my appearance. And so I get it, and so I would just tell you that men see porn imaging and social media imaging, and they have a hard time delineating the difference. We fell onto some neuroscience that said science proves that the brain sees images as a form of sexual stimulation. Now, understand, men are using their phones for porn. Not all men. We don't want to label all men. I know this is really, truly the awkward part of this, but if they're using the same devices for Facebook or LinkedIn, for instance, in social media, and in one moment they're looking at porn for whatever reason, and then over here they're now looking at LinkedIn for business reasons, there's not a lot of delineation between the two. It's both are done on the same device. I doubt a mental switch occurs necessarily with the men between this imaging and this imaging. So it's really important for us to have clear boundaries in regards to this. So we added a Facebook frame. It says, keep it professional. It can be found under Clear Boundaries with Jessica Peterson. I know if you go into frames and put Jessica Peterson, it comes up. And we show you an example of what that looks like from our editor and Jessica and I. And it, helps you. You can actually screenshot the picture once you create it on Facebook, and then use that picture with the frame on it for all your other medias, because not all the other medias have frames. So since Facebook did and they allowed us to add it, we did it, and there it is. So this would be a point where you do an assignment, and we would stop and have another place where you could sit down and share a personal story with one another, or any questions or discussions based on what you learned so far. We move on to parking lot safety. Be aware as you walk, especially in dark settings. Park in well-lit areas. Have a key and mace in hand if you're on a long walk. See the self-defense in our book, how to hold that key. Simply put, ladies, you can put the key between your index finger and your middle finger so it sticks out. It's a jabbing device. There's places you can't just swing blindly either when you're trying to actually defend yourself. You've got to go for the eyes, the throat, unfortunately. You've got to go for the disabling places that are going to stop them in their tracks, because you're not going to win an arm wrestling contest with a guy. You know, we're going to be overpowered in a physical situation. So kicking to the side of the knee, obviously your high heel can be a weapon, but you've got to go for disabling defense. And so we talk about that in the book, and we also talk about creating a buddy system when exiting places. Airport and airport transportation, do not interact with strangers. Always take a photo of your parking spot. There is an app called Find Your Parked Car. I know I'm infamous for being in a hurry when I go to airports, especially when I'm doing lots of travel week after week. And I'll come out and say, what floor was I on? And I didn't make a conscious effort to take a photo or whatever. If you put this app, Find My Parked Car, and when you get out of the car, just like on Waze, for instance, it lets you actually, you know, click on it, and it GPS's latitude, longitude right at the spot that you're sitting in when you park your car. And so when you come back from the trip you've been on and you open up the Find My Parked Car app, it is a walking app. It'll walk you right back to your car. And you don't have to look lost. And I want to say this too. You asked, Scott, like, what do you think happens? You know, like senses get dulled and all this. I'm going to tell you that a lot of violence occurs out of convenience. I got asked to go on a Denver radio show the week after 2 women were murdered in Denver. This was probably about 6 months ago now. One was an 18-year-old girl that was running, and one was a 28-year-old pro golfer. Both of them happened like 3 days apart, 2 different perpetrators, and both were acts of crime through convenience. Neither one of them thought they were in danger. One was golfing alone, one was running alone. Both fathers were on the show, which was terribly difficult to listen to, and it was fresh. And
terrible.
and their perpetrators golfed and were running, a runner and a golfer. Neither one of them had violent historical crimes, and neither one of them were like the MO you would think that would commit this, but both girls were alone and ended up in situations where the act of crime became an act of convenience, just like came to mind to the person when they were on the trail, maybe running behind this girl for several miles, and thought, I'm alone, I'm in the woods. And then one thing led to another, and both ended up murdered. So again, you know, I don't think we wake up every day and go about our day thinking safety all the time. And so I hope this brings everything top of mind. I hope if you have teenage girls, if you have young women in your lives, no matter who they are, and even if you have no nieces and no children, but you have girls that are in your life, I would tell you to share this education with them, even if you take the single link Scott gives you and you share it in an email, and you say, hey, it's safety month next month, and I just thought of you, or hey, I thought of your 2 girls, you might want to share this with them. I think it's really good to have. So hotel safety, be careful of stranger interaction in hotels. Never allow yourself to be followed. I obviously have told my story. Be careful with bellmen at the door. Like, always have them leave the door open when they come into the room. Please always make sure your cell phone is charged. It's really dangerous to have your cell phone not be charged. There's a million ways now besides just carrying endless cords around with us everywhere. Now the number one lost thing besides keys, by the way, you now can't. You now can never keep enough chargers anywhere. Like, I just think every port, every electrical outlet should just have one hanging from it everywhere in the world, and we'd be all set. But there's MOFIs now, and there's cases that you can have Also, that I just skipped over that kind of fast, but hotel keys. Make sure that you have a couple of places so you're not scrambling at the door of your hotel room in the hallway. I don't know if you've ever, been in from the late night and tried to get in your room and you're digging through your purse for the lost key and people are walking in and out of the hallway. Just again, you think about that act of convenience. Maybe the person coming home to their hotel room 2 doors down had no idea that you were going to be fumbling and you putting yourself in that position puts the idea in their head. Don't leave drinks open. I know it's a big joke to talk about being roofied. It's somehow become a comical thing. It's not funny. Never drink to full intoxication. Never leave your purse open where your hotel key could come. Again, another place to stop. And here we tell you to go to the Georgia rape story in the book and discuss that there. We talk about corporate safety here, and we're careful in what we tell you, but we also want you to be aware of where the lines get crossed and where you would pull in maybe human resources or ask for assistance at the office. We tell you to, look at your corporate safety and sexual harassment guides and policies and understand what those say and how they protect you. Absolutely listen to your gut. The greatest defense we have is our own intuition. Again, how many people wish that they had followed their gut? Better to be wrong than right in the wrong way. Yep. And what are men saying? They want to know their boundaries. I covered that. In my book, I say demand respect, but act accordingly. Deliver great results, but be professional. Keep your personal business outside of work, and you will get the respect that you desire. We go on to tell you that good guys can be bad. So sometimes men that are in uniform are people that we need to be careful of. The executive bodyguard that wrote in our book told us, make sure you walk with your head up. Don't have your head in your phone. Know where the exits are at all times and leave an arm distance between you and people. And make sure if you yell for help, you put the word stranger in front of it. And it sounds so silly, but people actually ignore other people yelling for help if they think it's between two people domestically. A lot of times they will not get involved. So you want to insert, that word. Be able to react in milliseconds. And again, page 78 and 79 of our book. We also tell you for home security, make sure your alarm is working. Beware, have a beware of dog sign, a do not trespass. Use your security systems. And then, do you have a family line of defense? Have you sat down and made a plan with your family that if your house were to get broken into while you were all sleeping at night, what would your plan be when every second count? Would you tell your child to go to a safety place and hide? Would you all be scrambling? Would you get caught like deer in the headlights with a perpetrator that came through? What is your plan? Also, if you're going to use weapons like guns, we say be trained, get certified. We're not going to weigh in on this topic in any political sense, but obviously tell you all the proper things to do to arm yourself with home protection in this way means obviously storing it safely and having the proper certifications and practice. So again, another spot to stop and have that discussion. We talk about vehicle safety in our book, what to do to keep yourself safe in that instance, how to keep your doors locked so that you don't have any carjacking situations at lights, especially if you're traveling in a city late at night where you're stopping and going. Hide 2 defense weapons in your car, one that's easily reachable and one that's hidden. And then, of course, we want to point out to all you realtors today that we have much on realtor safety in our book. We give you lots and lots of tips, and we also put the entire National Association of Realtor Safety Checklist on page 110 in our book. We end by pointing out that obviously it is a new day and it is a new time for all of us to make positive forward momentum in the areas that so many women feel passionate about. We're proud to make a contribution in that way with our website, businesswomensafety.com. We appreciate all of you being on the call today. I would love to open it up at this point for any questions that you might have. And Scott, maybe you can read those out loud if you see anything. And then I'll just point them to websites or whatever. Yep.
Sounds good. So I just want to recap. So that app is really cool. Thank you for that. I downloaded that. So the Find My Car app is great. So that's really cool. It literally shows you a map. If you guys don't have that, I would highly recommend downloading that. 2 is somebody said if they heard if yelling fire will bring more people to help as well. So stranger
Yes,
fire
I
or
mean,
whatever,
yep.
whatever works.
Stranger
Yelling is,
fire.
yeah.
I think anything that would make them feel welcome to come to your aid. And I
Mhm.
think fire definitely would attract somebody to run over there and see what was going on. I think the big thing is to delineate. It's sad that we live in an age where the word help isn't enough. I would run to somebody's
I
aid. I'm
know.
personally one of those people
Right.
that would not
Right.
step over a person yelling for help. But I do
Right.
know I have watched programs where people did, didn't run.
Right.
Yep.
Jesse said, "Man, I love the button thing. I had no idea, Christine. So that's amazing.
Aw.
Like I carry my phone all the time. My wife carries her phone. I'm gonna, make sure and tell
Yeah.
her. I'll figure out how to turn off the sound. I almost think the sound is good. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it could
Because
be. I don't know that.
yelling and screaming, and I don't know.
That's right. I think if the sound alerts the perpetrator, that I would just say the police are on their way. I'd
Yeah,
simply
yeah,
say
yeah.
that like
Right,
that.
right,
I've
right.
just you're linked now. They're coming. And so
Yeah,
but again, I know that because for every second that a silent alarm is rolling and you're not talking to somebody,
right,
you're still holding on
right.
to you are wondering, like, are the police coming? Are they tracking me? Are they? And
Correct,
so I still
correct.
think don't get caught in the deer in the headlight situation.
Yeah,
Act, run,
yeah,
kick, fight. Yeah.
right. Yeah, hit
Yep.
it and run.
That's
So.
right.
All right. Angela said, awesome presentation, thought provoking. Thank you so much. Yes, I love the 911 too. Is that the right side button on the 10X? Yeah. So the one I pushed that made it go off was the right side. There's only one on the right side of the 10X. That's the only one I have. So just
Yep.
figure it out, Google it, call Apple, so find out what that is so everybody knows
Yeah.
which one that is. Just so
Googling
Google it. Yeah.
security, iPhone security button will bring you there. Yep.
Where on the website do we sign up? So there's somebody, Business Women Safety. Is there a place for an email?
Yeah. So if you
Okay.
want to get on our listing, I'm going to give you a direct link to me. Just email me, Christine. I'm going to have you do this. There's actually no.
I already put your email. I put your
Okay,
email
great.
down in the chat box, by the way.
What
Yep.
the businesswomensafety.com does is if you go on to that website, it's not necessarily once you're in there, we've grabbed your email for being in there. You can hit the learn more button. And in the learn more button, you can register for more information and it captures you. So we're capturing you visiting the website, and that's going to help us keep at the top of the feed all our information for output. But again, Scott just told you he gave you my direct contact, and I would love for you to be
Yep.
in my world. And I will tell you this too, follow me, because especially this time of year, you're going to see a lot of stuff come out of my social media. That's
Amen.
new tips and
You're,
stuff on the
you're a
book.
rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll see,
You're
you'll see
amazing.
plenty.
Yeah, yeah. Rhonda said very interested in becoming certified to pay it forward. I love that. So,
I love that.
like, what should she do? Just get a copy of this or a copy of the PowerPoint, or what would be the best way for her to be able to do that?
Yep. So I'm going to give you a blank copy of the certification. And if they watch this whole program, they're now certified. So you're just going to give a blank. You can actually take the document, print it, sign it, Scott Hudspeth, because you hosted, and you just send that to all the people that logged in. I know that GoToMeeting gives you the actual webinar guest list by email.
Yep.
And you can just send it to all of them, and they then have the certification. You can include the copy of this class that we just did now. And if you want a clean copy of the class, I can provide it. You can email me. We certainly can get you a copy of that. But Scott will give you the certificate, a copy of this class, and you'll have what you need to pay it forward. And if you want books, again, that's my email, Christine@visionyoursuccess.net. If you're going to host something with 25 or more members, we'll give you the discounted bulk book at $10 a book. So, yeah.
Awesome. And Tammy Platts, thanks for being here. She's a business partner of mine. So Tammy, the email is in the chat box, but if you don't have it, I have it as well. So that'll get you the 25 books. So go to just grab in the chat. You guys have a chat window down at the very bottom. It should be the very last thing. If you open that up, click the arrow and push it down. There's Christine's email is right there. So just email her and say, hey, I'd like 25 books from whatever you want to order, and she'll give you the discount. You bet. I don't see her direct email. Okay, let me just post it for you. One sec here.
Yeah.
Let's grab it.
I'll say it again while he's posting it. It's Christine, CHRISTINE, at visionyoursuccess.net. And yeah, please check it out. Check
Cool.
me out. Yeah.
All
and my
right.
website's
Well,
visionyoursuccess.net as well. So
something we didn't talk about, to come to visit us. If you're anywhere near the Tampa or want to fly in for the day, it's going to be an unbelievable event. Over 200. Where would they, is it 2020vision.com or .net?
Yeah, so it's.
You want to put that up on the screen?
Yep, it's Vision Your Success, and I'll type it in here, and then / Vision-Summit. So I'm going to type it in. It's visionyoursuccess.net, which is my website, but / Vision-Summit. We are having a 24-hour convention that is having a cocktail reception the evening before. It's all mortgage and real estate experts. There are panels on the stage the next day, a one-day, full-day convention. Keynotes by Barry Habib, Scott Hudspeth, myself, Bruce Lund, Joe Panapianco, and then tons of panels. We're having a Women with Vision panel where women leaders are going to be speaking. We have a real estate expert panel. We have a social media content panel. We're having a loan origination or sales, what we call sales acceleration panel. So tons. It's going to be fun. It's going to be Las Vegas style.
Can't wait.
And it's cheap. I mean, we made it like we're not trying to make money on the event. We're just trying to get networkers together, share information. So I can tell you, if you are a guest of Scott's, you can use the code. If you go to that website and register, Elite Guest is the code. Don't tell everybody, but it's Elite.
Don't tell anybody, please. Yeah.
And that gives you $100 off a $399 ticket. And so you would get a ticket for $299. Bring your friends. It's fun to come with friends. It's going to be amazing. We do it right. We give away swag when you register and when you come in, and great food and company. So please.
Just so I don't have to look it up, it's visionyoursuccess.net /vision.
Vision-Summit at the end. So visionyoursuccess.net / Vision-Summit.
Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm pulling it up right now. Cool. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you. Here, I'm going to post this in the chat box as well. This is going to be so much fun. So if you guys have any questions about this, shoot me a private message, or you have Christine's email as well. Let's see. Am I doing this right? There we go. Okay. I put that visionyoursuccess.net / Vision-Summit. So super excited. It's in, 30 days? We got 30 days left?
It's 30 days away. And I will make sure that you have this certificate by the end of today, Scott, that you can grab this recording, add that to it, and everybody can have what they need. And I hope to hear from some of you. So, wonderful.
All right, Christine, thank you so much. Amazing class. Amazing what you've done to help people and continue to push forward. And anybody that wants to pay it forward, I highly recommend it. I'm going to push to you guys, my mortgage friends and my real estate friends. Like, the more we do this, the more conscious we are, the more aware we are, the more better the apps we have. All this great stuff that just might save somebody someday. And so the more people that know about it, just tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers. Just start sharing this stuff. This is just to keep people safe. So
that's right.
And if you guys want to, again, join us at the Vision Summit, man, I'd love to see you there. We're going to have a blast. It's going to be your marketing on this. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So thank you again.
Yes,
thank you for being here. Thank you for your time today. Safe travels coming up the next 9 weeks, and I'll see you in a couple.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
All right. Same time, same place next week, right here on Agent Mastermind. Please join our private Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Agent Mastermind, and we'll see you on the web. Take care, everybody.